Good morning. This is Nancy Grabe with Foundational Family, and I'm here today just to introduce myself to you, tell you a little bit about me and why it is that I work with families, where my passion came from. So when I was 9, I was in 3rd grade. My 3rd grade teacher asked me to read out loud. I was terrified because reading out loud was something I was never real good at. Started out okay, and as I went, I started to stumble over the words I couldn't pronounce and sound out. She sighed deeply from behind me and then announced, "Nancy, you are retarded and you can't learn anymore." And then she turned to my classmates and said, "If I were you, I would be real careful. This might be contagious. You'll all get stupid if you hang out with Nancy." I was horrified. I was convinced that I was retarded and stupid and that everybody knew it. It wasn't something I could go home and tell my parents. The next year, my 4th grade teacher placed those of us who didn't know our multiplication tables at the back of the classroom. And as we went, some of the kids moved back to the front. She told the kids to turn around and to laugh at those of us who didn't know our multiplications tables. I was absolutely convinced at that point that I was retarded, incapable of learning, and that I had to hide it from the world. I became withdrawn, sad, and very emotional, confusing my parents beyond words. But they were super supportive. Things seemed to get a little bit better, other than some stomach aches and lots of teary nights. And right before high school, I had to take an entrance exam, one of the best high schools in the nation. And we were to take the entrance exam and then use that information to make choices about what classes we should be signed up for. I took the test, and my parents said, "Oh, you are way smarter than this test is showing. Let's just sign you up for what you're interested in." So I signed up for socioeconomic geography honors and advanced and honors courses in everything, except for math, which I kept the on-level space. I went to school. The first 2 weeks of school were fabulous. I was learning lots, making friends, feeling good about myself for the first time in a long time when the guidance counselor called me down to his office. He asked me when I arrived if I knew what moron meant. I did, and I asked him why he was asking, and then he told me that I had not tested so well when I had taken the entrance exam for the high school, and that sometimes our parents think we can do a whole lot better and more than we really can, and that he was going to make life easier for me, and he handed me a new schedule. I was taking all remedial classes. I was horrified. I was 9 again. All of a sudden, I had been found out. I stepped out of his office, I slid down the wall, and I cried. And he just shut the door behind me. Alone, crying on the floor, I thought about maybe it was better to kill myself than to go home and tell my parents how stupid and retarded I was. That would destroy them to think that I was stupid. Luckily for me, at that moment, Mr. Seegers, my socioeconomic geography teacher, head of the social studies department, wandered down the hall and asked me why I was sitting on the floor crying. I handed him my schedule shaking and said, "My schedule's been changed because I'm so stupid." He stepped into the guidance counselor's office, and after much loud debate, he stepped back out, told me to go about my irregular routine, and that he would see me after school. He became my first mentor. I didn't tell him everything, but I shared a lot of what I was struggling with. He got me involved in drama. He got me involved in writing and reading. He got me involved in talking to my teachers and getting the help and support that I needed. I made it all the way to college, blew myself away. I couldn't believe I was actually going to go to college. The stupid, retarded little girl. I got to college, and it was a struggle. I went in to every lecture and asked the professor, "Can I meet with you after every lecture and have a conversation?" And then after those conversations, I went and was in a study group. And after the study group where I learned what I wasn't getting, where we went through the books and highlighted and took notes, I went to the next study group and I taught what I had learned. I was doing great. I was well on my way to graduating with honors. And I thought, well, this is silly. My best friends are borrowing my notes, and they're psychology students too. I should study with them. So I knocked on the door of my best friend's room. I wandered in, and they were laughing. And I said, what's so funny? And they said, we don't know how you're graduating. We don't know how you get these A's. What are you doing, sleeping with your professors? I was stunned. I know I can't spell, and I know my notes don't always make sense, but they wanted to borrow them. They had been borrowing them for months. If these were my friends, did I really have any friends? And all of a sudden, I was 9 years old again. That all of the good grades that I was getting didn't matter at all. What these people were saying to me was truth in my mind. I rushed to see the counselor at the school, and he told me that in fact I couldn't possibly be retarded and be having A's, and he asked me if he could do testing and see what was really going on. And for the first time in my life, I had a label for it. I'm dyslexic. So I have no phonological skills, and I was struggling to read and write. But when I knew something, I knew it well. And I found out that I am what we call twice exceptional. I have a very high IQ, and I have a disability that gets in the way. So I know that there are other children and other parents and families that are struggling with these things, where you've got a kid who's really bright and really wonderful, and all of a sudden something changes. They're struggling with emotionality. They're struggling with getting work done, being polite, being kind, talking to you at all. And I know that it is that mentoring that I received. It is the love and support from my family that made all the difference in my life. And I want the opportunity to help you create that same kind of setting in your family, to know what it is that my parents didn't know. It's taken me a long time to tell my story. I didn't want my mom to hear it because I didn't want her to feel like she did something wrong. She was phenomenal. She loved me deeply and gave me strength to keep going. But there were things that I wish she had known and she could have done to help me a little bit more. And I'm grateful to share that information that I've learned over 35 years of counseling and just a lifetime of getting along. Thank you.